Hey everybody, my name is Jeremy Siskind. I'm the author of Playing Solo Jazz Piano, as well as Jazz Piano Fundamentals. Woo, 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 woo. All right, I paid extra for those graphics. And what I want to talk about now is how to write a blues tune like Thelonious Monk. Of course, Thelonious Monk is way better than me, probably way better than you. I don't know you, but Thelonious Monk is really one of a kind. But I want to at least get into a little process of how we might imitate some parts of his style. And in particular, we're going to look at 3 blues pieces, Misterioso, Straight Note Chaser, and Blue Monk, and then write a blues tune together in his style. All right, so let's start by looking at Mysterioso. In a certain way, this is like the purest possible Monk blues. Why? Well, one of the things that I want to communicate to you is that Monk uses what we might call a motivic cell to create a lot of his blues pieces. And this is a fancy sounding term, but all it means is a really short motif that then you bring back in all kinds of different ways. Okay. And Mysterioso has both probably the shortest possible motivic cell as well as the greatest focus on a single motivic cell. Let me play this for you if you've never heard it before. It sounds like this. So you can see that there's not really a lot of variety in terms of the piece, and it is all based on this idea of an ascending sixth, right? And this ascending sixth is basically made into its own melody. And in fact, that kind of becomes another motivic cell, is this kind of ascending 3 notes, down 1 note, right? Probably I should say ascending 3 notes, descending 1 note, just by step. Right, so it's just an ascending sixth, ascending by 3 notes, descending once. And Monk does find this really kind of poignant little moment connect into the 2 chord of the blues. Another thing that's very monkish that you see right at the end here is ending phrases in kind of unusual, odd places. So, if it were me, for a Dumbo like me, I would have ended this piece or something. Probably would have tried to end it right on the downbeat. But Monk ends it kind of really strangely on the end of 1. And not just that, he ends it on this A flat, which is the 7th, which is a really tense note. So it feels very unresolved, even though the phrase clearly ends. It's a very surprising ending. Okay. So what are we seeing? We've seen this kind of, we call it motivic saturation of this interval of a sixth, of this kind of 3 notes ascending, 1 note descending, and then we've seen this kind of unusual ending that creates tension. Now, if we go to Straight Note Chaser, this is a little bit more complex. Also a blues in B flat. Its motivic cell also has a sixth between its lowest and highest note, but there's these other things in between. And what's so cool about this is that Monk extends and contracts this like an accordion and starts it on different beats. Starting things on different beats, the fancy term is displacement. This is one compositional technique Monk uses in almost everything that he writes. He loves displacement. So you can see this motivic cell starts on the end of 4, then on the end of 3, then on the end of 4, then on the end of 3, then on the end of 2, then on the end of 1, then on the end of 1, then on the end of 4, then on the end of 3. Right, so it's really changing where it starts. And notice that the end of the motivic cell has half steps, and those half steps are going to come into play in some different ways later. So let me play this one for you. I'll do it one more time. So, like I said, he expands and contracts this lick so that the first time it's got 5 notes, the next time it's got 7, then it's back to the original 5, then 5 again, then just 4, then 7 again, right? And it keeps going until at the end we really expand it. Right? Remember those half steps that we saw at the beginning? He really expands those half steps. So, again, I would call this a very motivically saturated piece, using displacement and expanding and contracting its themes. And then lastly, probably Monk's best known blues, and it's kind of convenient that all 3 of these blues pieces are in B flat, is Blue Monk. Blue Monk does something really clever, right? It takes 2 chord tones, the 3rd and the 5th, and it connects them by a half step. And then it does that again here, right? And so let's call this theme A. And we see theme A happening quite a lot, right? 4 times. A. So then, if we have theme A, you could probably guess that we're going to have theme B, which is, kind of has this really strange leap of a major 7th in there. Strange leaps, also a very stereotypical thing for Monk to do. You see, later we have a leap of an octave, right? And what's kind of interesting, if you look closely, if you could see this yellow highlight, is that he backs up and does the 5th to the 3rd connected by half steps with just some other stuff in between. Okay, so theme B comes back quite a few times. Here's B. And I told you displacement is very important for Monk, and this, like, theme B usually starts on beat 1, right? The first 3 times starts on beat 1, beat 1, beat 1, but then the last time it starts on beat 2, and that causes this to end on the end of 1, that same funky place that Mysterioso ended. What's kind of unique about this is that it has one theme that we never really hear from again. This little, I always think of it as a little snare drum. So we do have what we call as theme C. We have something else popping in here. Okay, so let's hear how this sounds one more time with all these things in mind. So, taking these things in mind, motivic saturation, using melodic cells, displacement, unusual leaps, maybe some endings on the end of 1, I'm going to try to write my own blues tune in the style of Monk, keeping in mind it's probably not going to be as good as anything that Monk's done, because I ain't him. I'm just a sad imitation. All right. So let's keep it in B flat, since all the blueses that we've looked at are going to be in B flat. I'm going to write out my basic chords here. And this is why you come to this YouTube channel, because who else lets you see their process of writing out these chords and making sure that they're actually spaced pretty evenly. See, I'm going to keep it simple. I might add some more detailed chords in later. So here's a 12-bar blues. Really terrible spatial balancing here. We'll slide these over just a bit. Cool. Cool. Good as new. So first thing I gotta decide on is a melodic cell. So I'm gonna keep this thought of a 6, and I'm gonna go. 1, 2, 3, ba-doo, bum. So it's gonna be a pickup, at least at first. 1, 2, 3, ba-doo, do, do, do. So in Blue Monk, he does just transpose the motif up a fourth. So maybe that's what I'll do. Let's do that. That sounds pretty good. That sounds like Monk to me. Is anybody still watching? I'm curious. I guess I'll find out later. And then let's do it. Let's do it again, but we're going to start it on the end of 4. So we have displacement here. So right, it's been starting on the end of 3, and then we're going to move it to the end of 4 to create displacement. So we've got 2, 3, 3, 4. And then I want to extend it so that I can kind of finish out this 4-measure phrase. I dig that. It's kind of combining, actually, the version that happens on the first measure, right, where we're leaping from D to B, and the second measure where we're leaping from G to E flat, right? We've got both of those in there. So I'm going to now start it on the end of 1, so I'm really going to town with this displacement. I really want to aim for an A, but I'm not sure how. That's going to be good enough. This will be like a triplet held over 1. I'll do something really parallel, and then I want to play these first 4 measures and make sure they work together. Sometimes like things right next to each other work, and then you play the whole thing and it doesn't work that well. What if this like was the greatest tune ever? People started playing it at jam sessions all the time. It was all because of this YouTube video. Okay, so let's see how this starts. This first 8 measures is 1, 2, 3. I messed it up. One more time. 1, 2, 3. That's the danger of displacement. this is going to work nicely, I think, as long as we place tritone subs in these measures to make these last melody notes a little bit more colorful, right? These all end up being the fifth of that chord, which means that they're going to be the sharp 9 of the tritone sub. Sorry, I said sharp 9 when I meant flat 9 of the tritone sub. And maybe this could even be a D7 to a G7 to lead. D7 sharp 9 to a G7 to lead to a C minor to F7. I think we need another theme in here. We've done a good job making it motivically saturated, but we gotta, it's gonna be a little bit repetitive after a while. So one of the things that I'd like to do would be to take the end of this phrase and make it the beginning of the next phrase. I think that would be nice. So I'm going to use those exact notes. So basically taking that same gesture and doing it down a step. And then, trying to resolve when I have this tense note. Let's see, I'd love to end it with some reference to that original motif, but I need to play it from the beginning to see how it's all going to fit together. So give me a second, I'm going to play it from the beginning. Let's see if we can figure out how are we going to use the original motif in these couple of bars. 1, 2, 3. We'll combine the last two motifs at the end. So we've got this one motif that's kind of this enclosure, and then the other motif you've heard a million times. So I'm going to add an enclosure. I guess I'll do it in red. And I'm going to end on the sharp 11 because that's very monk-like. But you guys see what I did. I basically wrote the original motif, but I added in two enclosures. Okay, so this is obviously a real hacky version of a monk composition, but I think you can also probably hear that there is a relationship between what I wrote and what Monk wrote. So let's call this hacky and sack, right? Monk has a tune called Hackensack after the New Jersey city, but this is going to be hacky and sack because it's a hacky version of a Monk tune. 1, 2, 3. right. I'm not going to win any composition awards for that one, but, in 7 or 8 minutes, I think it was pretty decent. Hope you enjoyed this. Check out my books. They make great Christmas presents. I also teach remote classes that I keep forgetting to mention through Fullerton College. Check those out at jeremysiskind.com/jazz class. And I hope to see you guys around soon. Take care.